Hey everybody, it's Lisa, aka You Brought Me Home on Tumblr, aka Captain of Podcast. And here we are, back again for my review of The Handmaid's Tale, Season 2, Episode 12, Postpartum. I should have done this a couple days ago, because, but work and stuff. Anyway, so, I know we were all thinking that this episode was going to take place right after episode 11 because, at the end of episode 11, the final scene shows June on the floor in the abandoned mansion covered in blankets having just given birth to the baby, and the baby's there, and then you see headlights roll up. So you're assuming that the episode's going to open with someone coming into the house. That does not happen, though. After we get the previously on, the next scene we see is some soft light coming in through a window, and we get a close-up on a view of June's beautiful baby girl being bathed, and then you see some smooth female hands, and then a pan up to a smile that you just know is not June's. I mean, obviously, you wish it could be, but you know it's not, and obviously it isn't. It's Serena Joy. So, the baby is back at the Waterford house in Serena Joy's not entirely capable hands. The baby looks okay, but that's just physical. And Serena Joy looks way too happy for something that she doesn't deserve. I really liked how this episode was filmed. There was a lot of contrasts. And by contrast I mean atmosphere, color, background, and just general feeling. We went from this ethereal moment of a mother, pseudo mother, fake mother, holding her not exactly child and giving her a bath, and this beautiful moment between mother and child, and then it cuts real sharply to June sitting on a bed back at the Red Center with her shirt open, and she's got two electronic pumps going, pumping her breasts for milk. And it's just such an extremely sharp contrast. You got this first scene where mother is happy and gazing at her beautiful baby and life is perfect, and then you go to Fred, who's sitting there, with her boobs out for all the world to see, being forced to pump milk for this child that she's just lost. And here she is staring off into nothingness. Because it's pretty obvious at this point that June, she's already lost one child, now she's lost another. You could see the detachment in her countenance, in her eyes. She's gotten to a point where she just, like Emily and the other girls, they do what they do without feeling, because to feel hurts too much. So you just detach yourself and everything becomes a job. And that's kind of what it looked like for her. Actually, I was surprised that she wasn't handcuffed to the bed like she was last time. But being that she's a new mother, I'm sure they want her to be comfortable. The aunts are all there. They're waiting for her to finish expressing. She finishes expressing the milk, and when the aunts go to take it off, you could see there's only a very little bit of milk in there. And Aunt Lydia goes on to tell her that she asks her, "Are you healed up properly enough? Are you feeling okay?" And this is not because she gives a shit about June. This is because, from what Aunt Lydia says, she has had numerous offers from at least 4 different houses, to the point where she has actually been bribed for June's services specifically. She's a hot commodity, as it were, among the handmaids. They want to make very sure that she is healthy and ready to go to her next assignment. June looks at her like she couldn't give 2 fucks. And I really wish she would say something at this point, but you know, I think she's just pretty much resigned. Aunt Lydia shows her this basket of muffins that one of the commander's wives gave to her as kind of a bribe gift to get, put in a good word for me so I can, hopefully she'll decide to come to our house. June says probably the funniest line I think she's ever said, "For this shit, I deserve a damn cake." Of course, all she gets is a muffin, a bran muffin at that. She's like, bran muffin? Fuck this. I just love when you get those little snippets of dialogue from inside June's mind, like, so you know what she's really thinking, because it's so hard in that world and in that environment for the handmaids, really for any woman, to truly say what they want to say. When you have those glimpses into her innermost thoughts, it's so enlightening and so refreshing, because it's usually the only time you ever get levity in these episodes, other than like the Moira flashbacks. That's just because Moira's awesome and she's funny. So anyhow, so the aunts that took the milk, they let Aunt Lydia know that her donation was less than last time, and it's getting progressively lesser. And it's because she's not with the baby. If a mother has to express milk and the baby is not with her to keep the process flowing, it will cause the breast to dry up quicker. I can speak from experience having 2 children of my own. So, so this gets Aunt Lydia to thinking, if they don't do something quick, June's gonna dry up. And I guess in this society, they don't use formula, everything au naturel. So they gotta do something to get things flowing. So the next scene you see is in a church, or at least it looks like a church, some sort of conference meeting room type thing. And June is brought there, and she doesn't initially know what's going on, but she walks into the room, and Waterford is standing there, and Nick is there also. Before this scene actually takes place, you get a scene of Waterford and Nick back at the house. And I know a lot of you guys were wondering, like, what's the deal with Nick? Did he actually get shot? Because some other reviews that I watched said we don't actually see blood in the snow, so we don't know whether or not he's been shot. According to Waterford, I don't think he was shot, or if he was, it must not have been a particularly bad wound, because he seems fine, does not seem injured at all. And he apologizes to Nick for the misunderstanding that apparently the reason why he was grabbed like that and thrown into the van was because of some overzealous guardians. Now, honestly, I think that's just an excuse. I'm fairly certain Fred probably had something to do with it. If not Fred, then somebody high up in that chain of command probably had something to do with it. And he says, I'm just grateful that you're not hurt and that everything's okay. And while he's telling this to him, Nick is having to hang a painting on the wall in Waterford's office, and the painting is... Okay, this episode was light on action, but heavy on, like, existential, psychological depth. I mean, very, very psychological. You could call this episode a bit of a filler before the finale next week, but there was a lot of psychological shit that was going on that made this episode really deep. And the painting was the first star of that, because to have poor Nick having to put this painting up, and then having to listen to Waterford go, oh, isn't that just a beautiful picture of a beautiful family? Doesn't she just look beautiful? She looks just like her father. And I'm like, really? I don't know because I feel like Waterford is intentionally saying this shit because he knows that Nick is the biological father of that baby. And he's like just digging the wound in deeper, going, see, motherfucker, my child now. My child, not yours, motherfucker. And it just makes you just want to chop off his fingers and rip his face off. Because I feel like he's doing it with intentional venom. So you can tell Nick is not happy. And you wish that Nick would say something. You wish Nick would knock his ass off. But he's so used to being in this place and around these people. I don't think I mean, yes, he's part of the resistance. But I think part of him is afraid of what would happen to Fred and himself if he did try to resist. And the other part of him is so used to being in this environment, he's not sure how to move forward. Well, anyway, so we cut to the next scene, and as I said, June is taken to what looks like a church, and Waterford is standing at the end of the walkway. And when he moves aside, Waterford's there and Nick is there. And when he moves to the side, you can see the baby in a carrier on the floor. And as soon as June sees that baby, she's like, nope, 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 nope. And I know some people might have got the wrong idea. This is not June not loving her baby. She's saying this because she loves that baby. She is utterly terrified that if she spends too much time with that child, that the connection between them will deepen to the point where she will not be able to let the child go. I mean, she already saw what happened with Janine and Janine's baby. The woman almost threw herself off a bridge and got her eye plucked out because she was too connected with that baby over the 6 weeks that she was nursing it. She couldn't let the baby go. She's already lost one child, and it's done irreparable damage to her, and it's broken her heart. She knows that if she formed a connection to her second child, and if she lost this child, she couldn't take it. So she tries to walk away, and she's like, nope, 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 nope. But Fred's like, you know what? It's okay. It's going to be fine. Aunt Janine, of course, is there as well. And they're saying, it's okay. It's all right. We just brought you here because we thought it would be a good idea that if, for mother and child to be close to each other. We know that lately your milk has been kind of low, so we were hoping if you were closer to the baby, it might get the juices flowing, get the process moving along, so to speak. And sure enough, just by being in the baby's presence, as soon as the baby starts to coo, she starts to lactate, which is a natural thing, but it's also got to be the most embarrassing thing in the world. I could see the look on her face when she noticed that she started to lactate. You could see the milk stains on her go through her red shirt. She was covering herself because she didn't want to be seen. I mean, it's one thing to do that in the presence of your child, but to have to do that in the presence of the man that has raped you continuously, I can't even imagine how that must make her feel. It's puts you in such a vulnerable place. But Aunt Lydia says, it's okay, that's good. We want to see that those juices are flowing. We want to get that milk going. And Waterford says that's good enough, and he's about to take the baby to leave. But she says, can I just have a minute? I've already lost one child. And now I'm about to lose this one. Can I just... she explains to him. He asks her, it's obvious you were in the house the whole time. Were you so scared of me when I was there that you wouldn't come down when I called to you? And she said, well, you have to remember, I had just been taken to see my daughter, who I hadn't seen in years. And I only got a few minutes with her. And then she was taken away from me. I already have lost one child, and I knew I was about to lose another child. Do you really hate me that much for wanting a couple extra minutes, a little bit more time with her before I had to lose her completely? And Waterford kind of thinks about it for a minute. Now, I know some people would like to think that maybe he's sympathizing with her. He's really not. He's really not. All the shit that he does with her, allowing her to read magazines and play games and things like that, play Scrabble and taking her to the club and all that, is so that he can exert a sense of control over her, so that she'll be more pliable that when they have to do the ceremony. It has nothing to do with June. So he says to her, I let you see your daughter. I brought the baby here. All these things. Don't I deserve something for that in return? And I'm sure everybody was like, oh, motherfucker, you did not just go there. You did not just, you piece of shit. You fucking rape her on a continual basis. You raped her hardcore before you sent her to her daughter. And you want her to thank you? Dude. Excuse me. You can just go fuck off with that shit. Seriously. Go fuck off with that shit. For real. Honest to God, that's ridiculous. So instead of falling for his bait, she does him one better. She's like, oh, you want to play, motherfucker? Okay, let's play. I got you. Oh, you want me to feel thankful. You want me to give you something back. Well, it's been a long time since we've played Scrabble. How about when we get back to the house, we set some time aside to play Scrabble? That used to be a lot of fun. I think we could have some fun again. How about that? And you can see the look in his eyes, and his face just kind of falls like, Scrabble? Really, bitch? Really? Because he was expecting sex. He's obviously expecting the boom boom. And she's like, oh, no. Me, though, after having children twice, I'm thinking to myself, what the fuck, Chuck? She's still... I'm not sure how many... Okay, it's obvious that there has been a time jump of some weeks. Has it been the full 6 weeks where she would be allowed to have sex again? I think close, but not quite. Because Aunt Lydia has not confirmed the house that she's going to, or the family that she's going to next. I think they're still waiting for her 6 weeks to be up. Because a new mother has to have at least 6 weeks before she's allowed to have intercourse. Again, that's just, health reasons. It takes at least that long to stop bleeding after you have a baby. So I'm thinking about myself, dude, you're not even going to give her 6 weeks? Are you really? Asshole? Really? Like, seriously? This is the type of guy who would get turned on by seeing a woman in labor. Like, really. In horrible pain, birthing a baby, he would get turned on because he's that kind of asshole. That's why she's like, oh no. Scrabble. Sure, I got you. Let's play some Scrabble. The look on his face. Classic. Loved it. He's like, Scrabble. Okay. Scrabble. I mean, she knows what he was really wanting, but she's not gonna let him have it. She's like, fuck and you, asshole. Fuck and you. He can't really punish her because she's given him what he wanted. She did her job. She gave them a baby. So there's not really much else they can possibly do to this woman that they haven't already done. Well, all of this is going on. In the B story, we have Emily, Poor Emily. In the previous episode, we all saw that the commander whose house she was at, he had a heart attack right after sex and he died. So we obviously knew that she was probably going to get moved because that doesn't serve a purpose when the commander dies. So she is moved to a new household, and Aunt Lydia is adamant to her that this is your last chance, as apparently she has been removed from 4 other houses, or 4 other families have turned her down because she's, I'm assuming, damaged goods. One, because she ran over a guardian with her car. She tried to escape once. She's done a whole host of things. She's a gender traitor to them, and had an affair with a Martha, all of these things. So really, she's damaged goods to most of them. And the only reason she's still alive is because if those handmaids hadn't been killed because of that bomb, she would probably still be out there in the colonies shoveling shit. But because a lot of the handmaids were killed and their numbers were depleted, they needed to bring more. So they brought her back. They told her, in certain terms, that this is her last chance. If she screws up at this house, she's going back. That or she's going to die. So we were walking up to this house, and this is the second instance of really great color contrast. Outside the house, it's bright, there's snow. And then you go into the house. Now, you know that when even Aunt Lydia is taken aback and is like, something's wrong. When they go into the house, well, even before they go into the house, you already know something ain't right. The Martha comes to the door, opens the front door. You see that she's got one eye gone. So you can already assume that this guy's harsh. If he's punished her like that, this guy's really fucking harsh. Oh shit, right? But she's mouthy. Like most Marthas, they don't hardly even speak unless spoken to. She's like mouthy with attitude. And already Aunt Lydia's like, huh? They walk in and they're in the foyer and they're kind of looking around, and this guy's got all these weird paintings on the walls and knick-knackery that's very sexual, like in nature, hyper sexual, but very dark, like, sexual fantasy type art. And Lydia's like, what the who is this dude? Emily is just kind of, she's gotten to a point where she doesn't even emote anymore. Like you think June is detached? The only reason Emily, the only emotion Emily shows is breathing. Basically, she's become so detached that she doesn't live. She exists, basically, and barely that. So, but you can tell as soon as she walks into the foyer and she sees anything, she's kind of like, she's not shocked. She's more surprised that these things would be hanging up because they become so used to the way that their society is built that to see anything opposite of that is just like completely insane. So the Martha comes back out and says that the master will be down momentarily. And again, she's really mouthy, like more mouthy than normal, like really mouthy, like with attitude. Like you would expect a regular, normal woman to be if they didn't live in that kind of culture. So she shows him into the little study room and asks him to wait, and she says he'll be down shortly. And they're kind of looking around, and there's even more crazy-ass art in there, and weird knick-knackery, and graphic novels that are extremely graphic, and they're like, who the fuck is this dude? I mean, you could even tell by the look on Aunt Lydia's face that she was kind of questioning her decision to bring her here. She was like, oh fuck, maybe we should just go? Because, so, the commander named Joseph finally comes down, and she was expecting the wife to be with him, and he's like, oh no, she's not feeling well today, so she's still upstairs. It's okay though. That, even that much takes Aunt Lydia aback, because usually, husband and wife greet them, the new handmaids, together. She's like, okay. And before Aunt Lydia's even able to say 2 words, he's like, you're good, bye. And she's all, wait, what? Huh? Because usually a little more conversation happens before the aunts leave. And he's like, nope, bye, see ya. Don't let the door hit you on the ass. She's like, okay. And she leaves. The commander has to go into the other room for something, but says he'll be back shortly and tells her to wait. And you hear a little exchange between him and the Martha. I said, don't touch my stuff. Well, it's in my way. Do you really? And he says to her, what did you just say to me? Do you want to, and she's like, I wish you would, motherfucker. She didn't actually use those words, but she's like, try. Go ahead and try. And the look on Emily's face, she's like, did that just happen? Holy shit. Because this woman stood up to her master. Women in this society don't stand up to their masters, especially not the Marthas. Like, none of them do. And if you do, you get your tongue cut out, or you get your face slapped, or you get your hand cut off. Like, I mean, and this woman just like, and nothing comes of it. He didn't say a word. It's very difficult to get a read on Joseph. Like, you can't tell if this guy is like a not so bad dude, or if he's bad but in a different way. According to Aunt Lydia, he's a very powerful commander, one of the very top, and he's responsible for Gilead's economics. So he's, been there since the beginning. So it would be to her, it would be very important to her. It would behoove her not to fuck this up. So while he's out the room dealing with the Martha and whatever it was that he was doing, she looks around a little bit more and is still confused. Like, what the fuck is this shit? She looks around. You don't really see the emotion much on her face, but you can tell she's kind of curious. She's not scared, really. She's more curious that she would see this kind of stuff. But she's so not used to it. And then she looks down at the table and there's a graphic novel open. I really couldn't see what was in it, but she looks over and you know that this is not legal. That it's illegal in Gilead for women to read. But Emily, being Emily, fuck it, don't care. She looks over and she starts skimming the book a little bit, and that's when he comes back in. And she's like, she knows that she's been caught. And there's the distinct possibility that she's well and truly fucked. He's like, you do know what punishment for reading is, correct? And she says, you lose a finger for every line. Do you agree with that policy? You can see the look on her face like, you actually asked me my opinion? Like, she's shocked that this dude would even care. And of course, all she can say is, it's the law. Good answer. Oh, the good old days. Back then it used to be a hand. And when he says that, you're like, oh, he's that kind of dude. Small things like the women acting out don't bother him, which makes him worse. Because he's not a physical crazy. This guy's nastiness is more mental, emotional. Like he's so. You think, oh, maybe he's not that bad. Oh, no. Don't you remember they always say it's the quiet ones you need to watch out for? Yeah. You could tell in the next scene where they're sitting and eating and drinking a glass of wine or whatever that was in that bottle, that the way that the conversation was flowing, this guy is not all there. Like, psychotic, crazy. So back at the house, Waterford is returned with the baby, and Serena Joy is pissed. Like, pissed. She's like, what the fuck? Really? You took her to see the baby? She's not supposed to have any contact. Did I not fucking tell you? She's not supposed to see the fucking baby. Of course, they get into it, blah, blah, blah. You can tell that their marriage is on the verge of a serious breakdown. They didn't really get to finish the conversation, though, because he says to her, they're having problems getting her to express milk. She's starting to dry up. We think it would be easier if she could come into the house and express here, where she's near to the baby. Just logistically, it makes more sense. And she's like, I don't want her here around my child. I already told you she would have no contact with the freaking baby. All because you can't get enough of the Handmaid. And he's like, look, right now, I know you don't like her, but logistically, you have to think of what's best for the baby before you think about yourself, which is true. When you become a parent, your life is not yours anymore. Your life belongs to your kids. So he's trying to get her to understand that she has to put her personal feelings, but both of them have to put their personal feelings aside for the good of the child. If there's not enough milk expressed, the child's going to go hungry. Because right now, their stores are depleted. She's like, fine, just take care of it, but leave me out of it. Because she wants the environment that the baby grows up in to be nice and kind and happy and full of light. And I'm like, bitch, you and Gilead, her life is not going to be nice and kind and full of fucking light. Okay? No matter what. With your fake ass fucking smile. Yeah. No, it's not going to fucking happen. Swear to God, Serena Joy is living in a fucking fantasy of her own design. But it ain't gonna last. It ain't gonna last. So, Waterford goes to the aunts, I guess, and has a discussion with them, and they decide to allow Offred to come back. But only for the purpose of expressing milk. They figure if she's in the same house with the baby, she'll express more milk. So she's brought into the house and she's led upstairs back into her room. Her room is a little bit nicer. It's the same that it was, but you can see the milk expressing machine in the corner. And so it doesn't have that as much of a claustrophobic boxing feel as it once did, but it's still, it's still kind of a four-walled prison. So, Serena has made no bones about the fact that while June is there, she's not to have any contact with the baby. She can't even see her. She pretty much has to stay up in her room 24 hours a day and express milk. And the only time she's allowed to come downstairs is to go use the bathroom or to get something to eat or to bring her express milk to the fridge. Really, Serena Joy is barely tolerating her presence solely for the sake of the child. Honest to Jesus. we already know that this is not going to last. This situation can't, I mean, it's not tenable. So some days pass. June has expressed some milk, and she goes to take it downstairs to put it in the fridge. And she comes across Eden. Oh, Eden. You know, I at first had it in my mind that the reason why Nick got taken down was because of Eden. I was so certain that Eden had dimed his ass out. That once she learned that he had feelings for June, that she gave him up. I was certain of it. I mean, June had told him to be careful, to do what he had to do with her so she wouldn't get suspicious. And as soon as she got suspicious, boom, he gets grabbed by the guardians and shot. So, you know, it crossed my mind that Eden probably dimed him out. But then this whole relationship between her and Isaac began to develop. And she started kissing on Isaac. So her attention was kind of diverted from all the stuff with June and Nick. And when she realized that Nick really didn't care if she was messing around with Isaac, you know, it would be to her benefit not to say anything. To keep what was going on secret, you know. And Eden says to her, you know, it's such a joy to have a baby in the house. And she relates to June how much she wants a baby of her own and all this stuff. But she also says something kind of curious, that she wishes that she could have a baby born of love, like, because she feels that having sex and making love when it's between two people that love each other is so much more meaningful than between people that are forced. So you can kind of tell at this point that Eden, even though she's young, she's starting to see that the situation she's in is not a good one. Even though she's been brought up in this. I don't know how many years that Gilead's been around, but it's at least been a couple of years. So she's been pretty well indoctrinated to this mess. But because of her feelings for Isaac, you can tell that she's starting to come around to the idea that what they're saying, what they're expecting is wrong. That what Gilead's doing is not right. You know, she asks June for advice, and June says to her, you know, if in the situation that we're in like this, in this kind of world, around these people, if you find love in any way, just grab it. You know, grab it. And that's kind of what motivates her to do what she does next. So after Eden leaves that scene, Nick is there, and he and June get to talking. I love those scenes because it's so perilous when they talk. They're always on the verge of getting caught every time they talk, and this scene was no exception because he was about to hug her and love up on her, and then you can hear Waterford coming in through the back, and he's like, you know, no touchy. They're always toting such a thin line when they're in the same room together alone. Seriously. And he tells her how he wishes they could run away and be free and be a family together. And it's a nice idea, but I can't stop thinking about Luke. You know, especially knowing, since she knows now that Luke is alive. I don't know how she would be able to exactly reconcile that. But that's another story for another time. So she tells him that she's just glad that he's okay, and he's glad that she's okay, and he tells her the baby's beautiful, and he wishes that he could hold her. She tells him that the baby's name is Holly, and it's such a sweet little scene that they have together. Those scenes between them is the very rare points of light in this very dark and intense show. So Waterford comes in and Nick has to leave. So this is when they have their conversation about the him expecting something from her, from doing all these things for her, and her offering, instead of sex, her offering to play a board game with him. You know, it's been a while since we played Scrabble. You already know my thoughts on that. So, cut back to Emily. And she's in her bedroom getting ready for bed, and Joseph's wife walks in. She's a little short. Her hair's kind of messed up. She looks very unkempt and scraggly for a commander's wife who's usually very put together, not a hair out of place. This one looks kind of crazed. And she asks her what her name is, and she says, of Joseph. She's like, no, your real name. The look on Emily's face, she's like, what? But she gives her a name. And she says, I'm sorry, but don't tell Joseph. He doesn't like it when I talk to the girls. Oh, what is this place? This woman is definitely not of sound mind. And she tries to tell Emily that Joseph is responsible for what happened in the colonies. She knows what Joseph has done, that Joseph was the one that dreamed up the whole colony punishment deal. But she had tried to tell him that that stuff there was radiation soaked, it was poison, and then when you make them go out there and dig it up, that these people are dying, horribly dying, and he was a monster. Joseph comes up the stairs and sees her talking to Emily, and he pulls her away to the other room, and she's like, I hate you, you monster, you're disgusting, you monster, you can't do this to me, you can't, and I'm just, whoa. This is not a normal house. Like, we didn't already know that this wasn't a normal house. Emily's just kind of standing there like, did that just happen? Did that seriously just happen? She doesn't know what to think. She honestly doesn't know what to fucking think. This is so far beyond anything that she's used to in any of the houses that she's been to before. She's like, I don't even know no more. But she's just trying to go with it, you know? And Joseph tells her to come with him downstairs. She does, and they sit down at the dining table, and he pours her some sort of wine. Can't tell if it was wine or beer, something. And he commences to tell her all these details about herself. Apparently he had done some research on her before she came to the house. He knew that she was gay. He knew that she was married and had a son. He knew that she had an affair with a Martha. He knew that she was a college professor and that she studied and that she taught molecular cell biology. I mean, he knew all these things about her, and it just made him even more creepy. Like, usually when handmaids go to a house, the commanders don't care about who that the handmaids are. They just want to know that the handmaids are healthy enough to breed. They don't give a shit about who they used to be. I mean, that's why they don't go by their real names. But this guy knows, like, it's like he had a dossier on her and knows every detail. And you can tell by the way that Emily looks, she's like, who is this dude? And that scene, the intensity of that scene, I have to give kudos to Bradley, because that performance is pretty stellar. You might have seen him before. He's very famous for his character in The West Wing. I know him pretty well from Revenge of the Nerds 2. Played a real jerk there too. But it's really weird to see him in this role, because actually I was watching him. He was a guest on Real Time with Bill Maher last week, and even Bill Maher said how ironic it was that he was going from The West Wing to The Handmaid's Tale, because in real life the guy is like an avowed Democratic progressive liberal. So to see him go from being who he really is to this character, that's like, but hey, when you're an actor, you know. he plays it very well, and you could tell that whatever psychosis that this guy has, it's very like it's this is like Sherlock level drama. This guy's good, like that good. I can tell he's not going to be physically. He might not be physically abusive with her, but he'll definitely be mentally and emotionally like. I don't want to say that I know every in and out of this guy's character since it's just the first episode he's been in so far. He's very hard to read, so I guess we'll have to take some time to see more of him to see, who he really is. But back at the Waterford house, June is upstairs and she hears the baby cooing and fussing downstairs. So she lays down on the hardwood floor to kind of be able to listen a little bit better. And it just breaks your heart because, the baby's right there, but and she's doing everything she can to be as close as she can, but it's just very, very hard. So she's expressed some milk. She goes downstairs and she just passes the door where the doorway into the room where Serena Joy is holding the baby. She knows she's not allowed to see her, but she's standing just on the other side of the door where Serena Joy can't see her. And she could just peek in and see just a little bit of her holding her. So she kind of takes that in because that's the littlest bit that she's allowed. And she scooches on by and goes downstairs to put the milk away. That's actually when she has that scene with Eden and then later Nick and then Waterford. So after that is all over, the next day they realize that something ain't right. Nick comes out of his little loft over the garage apartment looking for Eden. Eden is not there. Usually Eden is always there. Eden never goes anywhere. She's gone. And he goes in there and he goes into the house and he asks them if they've seen her. And nope, haven't seen her. She wouldn't go to the store. Well, she wouldn't go to the store by herself. She can't. So they know it can't be that. What's even more interesting is that Isaac is not reported for his shift. Dun, dun, dun. You already know right then. Oh, snap. They ran off together. That was pretty obvious. Especially after what June said about her taking love by the horns wherever you can get it. Yep, they ran off together. So this pisses Serena Joy off even more because she feels like this is all Fred's doing. All of Fred's bullshit has led to this. And she doesn't want the baby's home life to be stressed because of this crap. So she says, take care of it now. June already knows how this is going to end. I mean, if they find her, it's not going to end well. And sure enough, they do. And the next scene is Nick and Eden sitting in what appears to be like a unused high school locker room. And he's begging her. He's like, look, just tell them you're pregnant. They won't hurt you if you're having a baby. And she says, it's too late. They've already tested me. I'm not pregnant. Well, tell them something. Tell them you're not in your right mind. I mean, something. I'll tell them that I was abusive, that I was making you do horrible things, and that you ran away because you feared for your life. Something. But she refuses to lie, and she refuses to apologize for what she feels in her heart to be right, that she loves Isaac. Even though she knows that this is going to cost her her life. He can't dissuade her. She apparently feels that God will forgive her and that there's no talking her out of it. So they lead her and Isaac up to the diving board. They're both standing at the end of the diving board with the man in charge up there behind them, and he tells them to ask for forgiveness from God, and he will absolve them of all their sins. And they just look at each other and say nothing, and her poor mother and sister are there watching and shouting to her, Eden, please, please. And it's just, oh my God. It's just heart-wrenching. Even Serena Joy, cold, callous bitch that she is, starts to cry. You would have expected June to cry first, but June has become so, like, resigned to everything that's going on and detached to everything that's going on around her that it's hard for her to really react. But then Eden recites, was it Ecclesiastes from the Bible, and it's a beautiful passage that kind of expresses what both her and Isaac are feeling, and that they believe that their love is not a sin, and that they did what they felt was right in their hearts. Now, attached to their legs are chains that go to heavy iron balls. And as soon as she's done speaking, they push them off the diving board, and both of them land in the swimming pool. Of course, the chains being heavy weighs them down, and they can't swim upward because of all the weight, and obviously they drown. And June just starts to cry. Not ugly cry, but painful cry, like she felt it in here. Not just because this was a woman, because she was a child. She was 15 years old. And for a society that claims to love children, for someone like Aunt Lydia, who swore that she would never do anything to harm a child, this was a little girl, 15 years old, not even begun to live her life, and is murdered in cold blood for loving the wrong person. Even Serena Joy is in shock. And you know that when she's crying about something that happened to somebody that is not her, especially someone who she's perceived as being below her, even the rest of the people in the pool area that were in the bleachers were all in a state of shock. Not because of what Eden had done. What Eden had done didn't even matter. It was what they did to her. I mean, it's one thing if she was a grown woman. She's just a baby. She's 15 years old, and they just murdered her in cold blood in front of everybody. I think you get the impression that most of the deaths that occur in this society, the ones that get hung, they don't get hung around people. It's done in secret. It's done where people can't see, in private. And then they're hung up on the wall for people to see. But you don't ever see children, anyone under the age of 18 being done like that, because they're considered children. You would never harm a child. And the reason why Gilead was formed in the first place is because children were such a commodity. Because people couldn't have babies, so they wanted to have more children. And now they're getting to the point where they're killing babies. It's like ridiculous. Just heartbreakingly sad. I have to give kudos to the actress who plays Eden. She was, for as young as she was fucking phenomenal. Anybody deserves a supporting award, a supporting actress award, other than Ann Dowd. Ann Dowd deserves all the awards. Holy shit. She should be getting, actually, all of the women in this show should be getting all of the Emmy Awards. For real. So, as the day ends, they all go back to the house, and oh, I forgot to mention one scene in particular that really pissed me off. Before Offred gets there, Serena Joy attempts to nurse the baby herself. because, she's been told that the milk is starting to run low. And I guess she figured, well, if I can nurse this baby myself, then we don't need to have her here. Bitch, really? You don't have no goddamn milk. Well, you're flat-ass boobs. You ain't got no friggin' milk. So she opens her shirt and she holds the baby, and the baby latches on, because the baby gonna latch on to any boob. But because there's no milk to express, the baby starts crying again. Most of this episode, the baby's been pretty fussy, and Serena has had to work pretty hard to keep her calm. And I'm looking at her like, are you seriously doing this? It was bad enough watching her give the baby a bath when you know it should be June. Now we got to watch this chick try to nurse her. She's that bitterly jealous. That she's going to do something that really serves no purpose. I mean, it's one thing to hold and swaddle and cuddle. That's good. But to nurse when you know you can't, that just makes the whole situation worse. And it's completely an offensive affront to June. Like, really. I can't even imagine what would have happened if June was there and saw herself. But anyway, a major theme of this episode was the fact that Serena Joy did not want her to have any contact with the baby, didn't want her to hold her or to see her or anything. So at the very end, after Eden is killed, I think that it's almost... I don't want to be sympathetic to Serena Joy in any way, because she doesn't deserve it, but you could tell that this was a big turning point for her. Like, huge. I don't know if it's ever going to change her opinion on how she views the world. Probably not, but you can tell she knows that what happened was not right in any way. So they go home, and Serena's holding the baby. Baby's a little fussy. And June is walking by, and she says to her, I'll get you a bottle. And she's like, no. Come here. Really? And she sits down in the rocking chair, and Serena gives her the baby and allows her to finally nurse her child. She actually smiles watching her nurse the baby. Now, can we say for sure, can we say that Serena has made peace with the fact that Fred is there and is okay with Fred now and is actually coming around and not being a bitch anymore? No. I think she has made peace with the fact that she has to do what is best for the baby, despite how she may feel about Fred or about June, despite how much she despises June, and despite how much June despises her. I think they have both come to terms with the fact that they have to put their personal feelings aside for the sake of this child. That's really the only thing that Serena Joy gives a shit about, is the baby. So that is my review for episode 12. It was kind of filler, but filler in a good way, because it had a lot of really emotional moments, really. In past episodes, we're always on the edge of our seat because it's so physical and so violent with the things that happen. But in this, it was much more. It was violence, but on a visceral scale, emotionally, mentally. It really got down deep inside, deep. And that's one of the things that the show does best, is the emotional manipulation that goes on in this world. That sometimes, that lately you haven't seen as much, because it's been focused much more on the physical stuff. But this one kind of went back to the show's roots and how the characters were emotionally drugged through the ringer. Kind of like what happened quite a bit in season 1. So next week will be the season finale, episode 13. And from the previews, I think they're going to revisit what happens in the end of the book. I have not read the book myself, but I do know what happens at the end of the book. At the end of the book, now, I'm not saying that this is what's going to happen in the episode, because I don't know. I'm only saying what I saw in the preview. It looks like in this preview, things come to a real head between June and Waterford, and things are going to get violent. Like knife pulling, people going to get hurt. If you remember, if any of you have read the book, at the end of the book, she kills Waterford and escapes. Now, does that mean that that June's going to escape in next week's episode? I don't know. I just know that things are definitely going to come to a head between her and Waterford, and somebody's going to get stabbed. At least that's what it looks like, because somebody definitely pulled a knife, and it's going to start to get nasty. And things between Emily and Joseph are going to get even more intense, from what I can tell. Not in a good way either. Because if you remember, at the end of season 1, they couldn't do what happened at the end of the book, because the end of the book is very definitive. She escapes, she lives her life free, and then the epilogue picks up where they find, like, some years into the future where after Gilead has fallen. But because this show has kept going on, they had to stretch the storyline out, so they had to get rid of that ending and stretch it out. I mean, they did most of it, except for the part where she kills him. They intentionally didn't do that, because they needed him to be alive for season 2. Now, whether or not he makes it after next week's episode is anybody's guess. Do not know. I mean, they flirted with the idea of him dying this whole season. I mean, he almost did die after the explosion at the midpoint of the season. So I'm not really putting spoilers, and I'm not saying that this is a spoiler, because it's not. I don't know. I'm just going by what I saw in the promo. I'm sure most of you have seen the promo, so you know what I'm talking about. I just know it's going to get intense. It's going to get fucking crazy. And I think that June will pretty much have reached the end of her rope. She's very desperate to protect this child and to get the hell out. So we'll see how things progress. And I will see you guys next week for the season finale of Handmaid's Tale Season 2. Bye!